Heading on in game number 2, SK this time going to be on blue side, first ban, first pick, and Zyra straight on out. I don't think they want to deal with it either.
I mean, Zyra absolutely, crushed that last game. Zyra was in so much control. Do you see like the difference there? That was a jump. Zyra, was able to just pick people off, and that pick-off potential, along with her defensive nature and how safe she is as a champion, is very difficult to deal with. They do still ban out Sona, so a couple of those supports, Gragas as well. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see how that kind of changes. I feel like they had a team that would be very similar with Orianna as it would be with Zyra. However, with Orianna, you go for it would be a little bit more burst initiation and not quite that same single target pickoff that Zyra had.
Diana gets banned out here. So Alistar or Malphite, at the very least, one of them is going to be made available for a first pick for SK. And if I had to pick one, I would assume that WinFakt would pick Alistar. It's what they banned out game number 1. It's just a matter of SK. If they pick up a Malphite, remember their common mid. Remember what Ocelot's been gotten a lot of credit for lately is that Orianna, and that's a fantastic initiation combo if SK can grab that. Alistar will be banned. SK, will they get the Malphite here? We'll see in a second.
They do have the Shen as well, so I probably would expect to see the Shen as that first pick, considering how well that worked out for SK in the previous match. But they're kind of deciding between a couple of champions. The Ezreal. Ezreal, did work out early in the game for WinFakt, but just didn't quite have enough damage late game. But even so, Ezreal is kind of the meta that we've seen with those early game ADs.
Yeah, Ezreal has been very popular. Corki's been very popular. Graves, he's still there. He's still kicking. Been seeing a lot of Simmer lately also. Looking for that range, looking for that push. Graves going to be picked up, going to be the choice here. More than likely for WinFakt, still considering it not fully confirmed yet, but more than likely. And then it's just a matter of it's also not too uncommon if you're going to be grabbing the first pair, you grab the AD and you also grab a support. We'll see if WinFakt will also be sticking with the Lulu once again.
Yeah, it's a weird matchup to have Graves and Lulu. It does work sometimes. It has really strong pushing power, and they're actually going to go for it.
There you go.
That's fine. I'm kind of curious whether or not they might split push if they decide to go Graves Lulu, because that is kind of a split push potential. They go with the Jace though. Was Jace banned last game?
Jace was not banned last game.
So we'll see how the Jace works. Jace could 1v2, and if they go with Graves Lulu, that's a very strong pushing lane, where that's like the kind of lane you see do those lane swaps. We haven't seen a lot of those lane swaps from the EU scene. It's been a lot more popular in the NA scene, but it's definitely just a common strategy all around right now. And they are trying to decide where they're going to go. They will probably pick up that Shen. I'm kind of curious whether or not they'll grab Yorick, because I don't know how Yorick versus Jace works exactly, because Yorick's always been kind of just that safe top laner that you can kind of ignore, and he is just kind of a tanky, regenning bruiser against everyone.
But SK, they could also they could be having the same inkling that we're having, that WinFakt may go for the 2v1 swap. And in a 2v1 situation, though, Yorick, we keep on mentioning this, like every time he pops up, does very well in the 2v1. He has regen, he has the ranged farm. He can get very tanky, he can sustain very well. He's just an absolute rock in a 2v1.
Yeah, he is very strong in that situation. I'm sure he's probably very strong against Jace as well, I would have to imagine. Just because Jace doesn't have any regen, and Yorick, it allows him to keep up. So Jace has really nice range to harass, but the damage isn't. He doesn't have any abilities other than his Q and his E. He doesn't have an attack damaging ability. So an ability that you're like, wow, I just lost a ton of my health. So that slow harass, Yorick does very well against slow harass champions like Jace or like Kennen or something like that, because you can just keep your regen up.
With this setup, if these are indeed the locks, I believe that's going to be an AD Jace, just sticking with the gun, no use on the hammer. That's it. It's going to be Shyvana in the jungle and then Aurelia in the top. So
very nice.
Jace AD carry.
I like it, and Aurelia does very well against Yorick. Aurelia versus Yorick is a common lane matchup. Yorick beats Aurelia early, and it's a skill matchup. But so it can go either way. Yorick can take control of the lane, or Aurelia can. But there's a lot of times in that lane where you see Aurelia just gets too strong for Yorick, and you just start diving Yorick repeatedly and pick up kills. Are they going to be sending Malphite mid, maybe? We've seen some AP Malphite in the past. TF, I want to see the TF, though, because people have been stopping playing TF. I don't know why TF hasn't been played like every single game, because he's just the greatest champion ever right now. In my mind, I just love TF.
But he's still a very popular pick in mostly on the Asian servers.
Yeah, that's true.
And like we looked through the Taiwan qualifiers, looked through the Hong Kong qualifiers.
Oh wow, they're doing support Yorick.
Support Yorick. Oh, this is annoying. So, oh wait, no, switch it back up. Leona. Okay, so Leona, Ezreal bot, Yorick in the solo lane, Orianna in the mid. Because you saw SK there thinking it over. It's like, hey, we have Malphite available. We could get that awesome initiation combo. But Shen works also in the same role very well. Leona does the same thing too. And whenever she goes in for that engage, whenever she gets that Q, she's going to be right in the middle of the enemy team anyway. So I think it serves the same purpose. It's just a matter of now, what is WinFakt going to send in mid? So
yeah, it should be pretty interesting. Let's see, with their team, I think they kind of wanted to have the Orianna. Like with the team that they have, Orianna would have worked really well for them. So SK, they were safe to pick that up. Karthus late game, that's going to be phenomenal for them because SK has a really short range team, so that'll work out pretty well. But Orianna does beat Karthus early on, so we'll see how that kind of factors in. But that pick just kind of makes sense. It turns them into more of a late game team, which is they had what seemed to be more of an early game team, a team to win the lanes and pressure them with the bruisers. But definitely going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
So this is pretty much sealed deal. Jace is going to be playing the AD carry role, presumably in bot lane. There is also the option for the swap. Is there a particular reason? I can think of a few reasons why Jace would not usually be an AD carry role at this level of play, because he doesn't have that ultimate. We were talking a little bit earlier, is the sustained damage, and also the gun is only half of his kit. The
number one thing is that he has 500 attack range. That's why he's not a common AD carry. Is he has 500 attack range. So his Q is very strong in that AD role, but he just looks, smells, eats, breathes bruiser. Like that's what you get the feel from him, because he's a tanky AD champion that doesn't quite have the range to go pure AD damage. He can't, he doesn't usually want to go pure damage, so he's probably still going to go with that kind of a bruiser build, and they're just going to go without a true AD champion. So they have a lot of sustained damage. What they're going to lose by not having that true AD champion is primarily pushing power. You lose a lot of pushing power. However, with their AoE clearing and with Karthus' wall to zone off, they're not going to lose that much. They're still going to be pretty strong in that regards. They are going to lose a little bit in team fights, not having that range if the other team can kite them a little bit. And but we'll go back into that in a second. So he is going to be going just kind of a standard build. So it is a pretty standard AD build, 19 and 11. So that's kind of interesting that he doesn't go for the full 21. He really wanted to get a little bit more damage reduction. So that will allow him to be a little bit more aggressive. He's taking the reduced damage from minions, so he's going to be taking almost no damage from minions with these two masteries combined, which will allow him to try and harass Ezreal a little bit. But we'll see how that kind of factors in. It should be pretty exciting to see. And late game, they will have enough sustained damage. Like Jace, his damage output, when you compare it with a true AD's damage is significantly higher. But Jace still has a lot of damage, but they make up for that with the fact that they have Karthus. So the fact that they're missing out on that sustained damage from the AD, Karthus makes up for it with all of his damage. And, Karthus' damage is just phenomenal. So, I don't know, what the benefit of it is they don't have a true squishy champion. They have Lulu, and then they have everyone is already fairly tanky. Karthus can be kind of squishy, but they have all these bruisers sitting in front of them. It's going to be really difficult for SK to engage on that.
Plus, also Karthus, he can easily itemize into things like Rod of Ages and just really negate a little bit of that squish. Plus, you got Lulu, you have the walled growth. It's not going to be too much of an issue. But we still talk about Jace though. Like we're still, I think. We still haven't gotten into the game yet. There is still the potential for that lane swap. So we've talked a little bit about Jace and Lulu together going against the Ezreal Leona. How would, if the lane swap does happen, how is Jace and Lulu going to do against the Yorick?
They would do very well against Yorick. I mean, they'd be able to bully him around a little bit. Yorick would be able to stall some, but Jace has really strong pushing potential. So Lulu can already, starting at level 5, with the Glitter Lance, clear the ranged minions, but Jace can do it as well. However, when you combine the two of them, Lulu will clear the ranged minions, Jace can clear out the melee minions with his Q. So they're just going to be able to instantly kill minion waves, and that's going to be very strong. Regardless of what lane they're putting it in, they can push lanes very aggressively. So that's going to be kind of interesting to keep an eye on. Everyone's kind of running standard runes, nothing really that special. It was interesting, Yorick was running 9, 12, and 9 for his masteries, so just trying to get a mix of everything, but not really that unique. Ocelot, let's see if he's running some movement speed. Will Smith TF, he is running movement speed.
Same page as last time.
The movement speed really works well on Orianna. He is running mana regen, though, as opposed to the movement speed on the mastery. So he misses a little bit of movement speed there. But Orianna is very mana hungry, which is why you usually see the Chalice on him early. So that'll be kind of interesting to see.
When Chalice is just a fantastic item on Orianna, period. Right. And it's just, you have that great...
Mana regen, cooldown reduction, ability power. What's not to love?
It's the...
Magic resist.
The name... Athene?
I hate the...
love that guy.
I like the name.
Love that guy.
I said what's not to love, and then you said the name. I'm going to tell Josh. He's going to be angry.
Yeah. That won't last long. No, he's a cool guy, cool item, fantastic. Glad to see it on Orianna, and a lot of other champions also building on into it also. But going on in game number 2, SK and WinFakt. If SK wins this one, they're going to be moving on. Also, we have Eclipsia and Elo Blade were originally scheduled to happen here, but that was a short delay. But the conclusion to that should also be at some point later on today. So do stay tuned to all of that at IGN Pro League if you want the updates for all of these matches.
Yeah, so we'll fill you on that. I'm really curious to see how this team works, because I don't know if you guys have ever tried a bruiser comp. That's always kind of been the evolution. When you play 5s with your friends, you're like, oh, what are the cool teams we can play? And at some point in time, you play an all-tanky bruiser comp. That's not exactly what this is, but it does have that same kind of flair. They have this team that, Jace can still farm versus Ezreal. Ezreal and Leona is a really strong kill lane. They have a lot of burst damage. However, Jace should be pretty safe against that. He won't have to, he will have enough range. He shouldn't have to worry about their kind of pressure, and then he can always just farm from long range with his Q. But once they're out of that laning phase, they have that bruiser presence, and then Jace has that long range pickoff. So that's going to be kind of interesting, because there's not a lot of regen on SK. So other than Yorick, he's the only one that's going to be able to heal himself up really. Shen a little bit, but in team fights they actually might be vulnerable to the poke from Jace. He could try and wear them down with that EQ combo and just constantly chipping at him.
Yeah, if SK wants to get on some of those fights, it might be a little bit more of a... Well, you do have Nif on Leona, and that's a huge, huge initiation tool to have. So, like, if WinFakt's trying to get their poke on, it's like, well, hey, here comes this huge orb of light. By the way, you're all stunned. And they could go for the quick focus down onto 6 or on the Countard, but, it still allows off. Still got to farm. Still actually got to start in the match. Still got to get these level 1s going in here. SK... looking to go top side, WinFakt going bottom side. They both have the same idea. They're both looking for an invade onto the red. WinFakt already in position, SK getting there. But you also notice that Nif has stayed behind just for a moment. Pings going down onto the red. WinFakt should be mobilizing soon, but there is a ward over by the Wraiths from SK. So if WinFakt shows their face over there, they may be spotted. Oh,
yeah, but in the meantime,
right
SK,
on top of it.
Yeah, SK looking for the invade. They will be coming around, and both teams, making their way over to the Wraith wall. So that's always a nice method for invasion.
I think WinFakt's gonna get spotted here. Very close. Ward still in the brush, but I don't think 6 actually poked on out to get that there. So.
Yeah, no, he didn't. So they haven't cleared. They haven't broken the seal yet. SK, not quite sure where WinFakt is. WinFakt, the same situation. So. Not really a big advantage for either team, but it's actually the biggest advantage is going to be for WinFakt if SK doesn't send back Yellowstar and Nif, but they did. So not, any downside for either team unless Yellowstar recognizes they might be coming in here, because he could poke in at this red and completely stop them.
But that's the thing though, you have SK Yellowstar, and if they are going for those small golems, I'm not sure if they spot Yellowstar here actually looking to kite, they could have gone in, but I don't think they did. WinFakt waiting for an engage on the red. They're just going to be more than happy to steal the red and then get out of there. But strangely enough, SK is doing the exact same.
Yeah, so they take that fairly easily. There's no pressure from the bot lane. They will back off. There is a slight experience advantage for Yellowstar and Nif, and having that kill lane with the experience advantage is always going to be huge. But I don't know, we'll see how that factors in. Shen, he could maybe come in for a quick gank top, but no, he's not. But he is making his way down mid, so Kaltard
is a little bit far out, and Arne is just going to opt not to do it. Goats did show himself in lane, just, you know, got the fire going, got the movement speed going. Ocelot just a little bit warmer now that he's had a small brush with the dragon.
Yeah, so we'll see, you know, how that kind of progresses. But it seems both junglers are going to be fairly safe with going their normal routes. Shen is going with the blue. So Shyvana did clear out, does recognize the red was stolen, but Shyvana is a faster jungler than Shen. So being able to get in as a team and get that quick steal, it helps, it prevents Shen from falling behind. So because they, you know, as a team took that red buff, he's not going to fall behind early to Shyvana. So we'll see what kind of pressure he can get. He is making his way into the top brush though, so he could maybe get in. I think he just barely snuck in. Yes, El Muppo didn't see him.
He's got the double buff. It could be huge. He does have the taunt available. So if El Muppo just gets a little bit too close to the brush, all these blade surges are
I'm like
very
waiting
risky
for
at
him
this
to
point.
just taunt in.
All these blade surges are very risky. But I think Arnie's trying to make El Muppo comfortable here. He's like, oh, I can blade surge. He's not in the bush. I'm not going to get ganked. Oh, it's fine. You may see El Muppo in just another few moments get a little bit more aggressive. Try and go for harass on Kevin. I think that's what they're waiting for. But there are still blade surges, very short ones too, to look and get that farm. But the wave, though, unfortunately, is being pushed up a little bit too far. I think the opportunity is lost
He's missed
here.
it. And he was waiting because Aurelia, in order to win a lane, needs to be incredibly aggressive.
Yeah.
And so they were, I think he was expecting that Shyvana might come in for a counter gank, or that, you know, Aurelia would be aggressive. Because that's usually where you want to catch out Aurelia. It's a really nice opportunity. But because he recognizes that he loses early to York, he was already playing very safe. Yellowstar coming in, though, trying to get some damage onto Etnix, is able to wear him down a little bit. And without a heal in that lane, he will be kind of vulnerable here. So we'll see whether or not Yellowstar can pressure that. But in the top lane, I feel like he had the opportunity for the kill.
Oh, multiple times.
But he wanted to hold off, or at the very least, to pressure Aurelia out of the lane.
Yeah, and they were seeing here now bot lane Etnix, you know, what the range disadvantage can do to your body. And he's already at half health. Does not, you know, these are not healing lanes here. So any harass Yellowstar gets is going to be huge, and he absolutely can. Not only with that attack range, but you know he is a kind of caster-based AD. He can get that harass. What is he leveling up first? He's leveling up the W, so he wants that harass. He wants to force Etnix out of lane.
Yeah, so that will be really nice. But Kevin, we'll see. He does have a ward. He has the tabby. The lane pushes right into him. So just right past that river. So he is safe from the Shyvana gank. Shyvana waiting to see, for lying in wait for that ambush gank. And Kevin, now El Muppo with a nice little advantage, but will be pretty safe there. Ocelot trying to chase down Kaltard. We'll see if he continues the pressure into the jungle, because he does. And there's the exhaust from Goats. He gets the flash out. So Ocelot will be okay, but almost getting himself in a dangerous situation there.
At the moment Ocelot recognized, I'm being exhausted. Someone else is here. I should probably get out. And good flash, good notion. Arnie is making his way into the mid, though, waiting into the bush. Can he get the taunt here? No! Nice flash away from Kaltard, perfectly timed. So both flashes in the mid have been blown. So those future ganks are going to be that much, could be, you know, making that many more returns. Goats waited for Shen to eke around the corner. A little bit free harass, just being annoying at that point. And Arne was going for the steal. He was wanting to do a little bit of a risky play, steal the race if they were up, but the last they were not. Meta Dragon.
One thing that I've kind of been thinking about in this bottom lane that's kind of interesting is Etnix, because of his short range, he is going to be vulnerable to Leona engaging, whereas some ADs are, you know, a little bit safe from that. It's tough for Leona to get an engage. And it's also going to be easier for Ezreal to harass him, because Ezreal actually has a range advantage, which is a very unusual situation for Ezreal to be in, being already a really strong early game champion, but he's usually outmatched as far as range. However, that being said, Etnix, if he gets some Q harass on the Nif, the range in the Q can be so long that there's not a big response for SK. And if he can wear down Leona before Leona gets a chance to engage, that could actually turn it around for them, where Leona's too weak to engage. And that's usually where you get a good situation against Leona, where you wear her down early and she just isn't comfortable to force a fight against you.
But also remember that in order to get that, if he's going for the long range harass, that is mana being expended, and if the hits do not land, if Etnix cannot make those shots land where they need to be. He could be outmanned pretty soon. Kevin, the Karthus ult should be more enough. Wait, no! Wow.
Yeah, just barely not enough, but Jace is going in for it. Actually knocks back Yellowstar, and then the kickback onto the Nif will be able to force him out of there. Ocelot making his way down to the bottom lane is caught out by Goats, and he's in a dangerous spot now, and he has no flash, and they're trying to get him. There's the exhaust.
Number
Styx
2
can get the Lulu Glitter Lance as well. A second exhaust, and very quickly Ocelot goes down, gets off the ultimate, and does pick up the kill onto Jace, and there's the turnaround onto Lulu as well. So SK, they're picking this up pretty easily. So a 2-for-1 exchange in what originally seemed like a huge loss for SK.
Huge pickup there. Plus, he got the first blood gold. That's always a good thing. Ocelot's going to be going back to base pretty happy. Has the chalice and also has the rod. Going to be bringing that back with him into the mid. So mana's not going to be too much of an issue. But this entire time, though, Couchard, he has been in mid. He has been farming up. He's working for that Rod of Ages. He almost has the catalyst. He's got the gems individually. He just needs to get the set. He also got Shen. He's very intent. He wants to do the counter jungling whenever he can because he does recognize that Couchard can definitely farm out of control. And one of the big things for the AP mids is just to double back, grab the Wraiths, and then return back to lane. So every time he gets an opportunity, we're going to be seeing Shen looking to grab that blue Wraith.
Yeah, and that was a nice job from him because WinFakt, they recognized that Shen was in the jungle, and Aurelia and Karthus were both actually making a play on him in case he was going after the red, but he gets out over the wall. The ult from Shen into Kevin, and then the flash from Kevin to make sure they can pick up El Mopo here, and he is pretty low. They have the Ignite as well. They almost don't have enough damage, but just a couple more ticks, and they will be able to tank this and pick up that kill.
Nice.
So they grab it. Shyvana is coming in as well, but won't have enough to turn it around and face the two of them, so they'll be able to force them back.
Yep, Goats does have the red buff, but when you have red buff, sometimes when you're outnumbered, it doesn't do a whole lot. But also, if you're watching the VOD, go to watch that last play and notice how SK stacked their CC, waiting for everything to end before they get on to the next step. You had the exhaust, you had the taunt, you had the slows, you had everything. It was very beautifully timed. Wonderful kill.
Yeah, really nice play from SK there. And one big benefit, though, from WinFakt is that they have their bruisers. They're early game bruisers. They scale very well into late game, but they're also very strong in the early game. Shyvana in particular, early and mid game is her forte. So, you know, she helps provide map control. So that's going to help them turn it around. But then she's also almost unkillable in fights and will provide hard initiation. And then, you know, Jace, even without items, Jace is pretty strong. So,
yeah,
you know, with items, we'll see how that factors in. But both Jace and Aurelia are very strong late game. Nif zoning out Yellowstar, Etnix zoning out Yellowstar just as Nif jumps in. So,
yep,
as a result, that whole Leona initiation was completely wasted.
That's the threat.
And it worked for WinFakt. They had the shield from Lulu, and they had the backwards harass with that Glitter Lance.
See, that's what you were talking about earlier. You're like, Nif, it is a threat every time you go, but once you get a stun like that, though, 6 does pop the ult. Will be a little more unhealthy, but Nif is in a whole lot of trouble. NX is forced to use this right into the stun. Nif wonderfully timed, but NX is in a little bit of trouble. The ult not going to be getting anybody. The Q from Nif not going to land either. Here comes Ocelot, though.
Oh, he's got him.
One. Wait, auto attack. Can you go for 2? Is taking the turret.
Trying to pick up the second.
Looking for the exhaust. Does get the ult in, but will he live off of that? The turret just has to flash out of there. I think he got a little bit too big for his britches there, but he managed to get the 1 kill. Good for him. Nice pickup. And now WinFakt is forced out of bot lane. SK, they can farm pretty free for the next minute or so.
I'm surprised he couldn't get that, but Goats coming in for Kevin. They pick him up very quickly. Kevin, can you get the revive kill? And Mopo just doesn't quite have enough damage.
No, it doesn't.
So nice advantage for Aurelia. And coming off to an early lead as Aurelia versus Yorick can be devastating. So we'll see if that helps him turn it around at all. He's going to be able to deny some experience here, but so far Countard's been pretty safe in the mid lane, and he is actually 12 CS ahead of Ocelot, though Ocelot does have the early advantage from those kills. It has been roaming, so
yeah,
we'll see how that factors in since Ocelot has that chalice and is starting to get into his build.
Very close to actually finishing up the Athenes,
yeah,
also, so that's going to be huge. But that is the one risk if you're playing AP mid and you do decide to roam. If you don't grab those kills, you will fall very far behind. But fortunately enough, Ocelot, he has been on point. He's been part of 3 of the 4 kills for the team so far. Only died 1. Even with the death, just the money that has been made from that roaming does negate all the free time that Couchard has been given into mid. And that's the thing about Karthus too. He's not a very mobile champ. He cannot roam like Orianna can.
Yeah, that is definitely true. And I think because of Karthus's lack of control over the mid lane, we're starting to see WinFakt might be a little bit more passive in this game than they were in the previous game. Because the previous game, they were really aggressive about taking the blues from Anivia and roaming all over the map. But because Kaltard can't put any pressure on the map as Karthus, they're going to kind of sit back from that because Ocelot would be too much of a threat in that mid lane. So, you know, we'll see if going for that later game will work against them. But Karthus going for the race, he's way out of position. Ocelot trying to chase him down. Irinei trying to get that taunt over the wall. Doesn't actually go for it, but there's the pullback from Ocelot. He's going to almost solo out Kaltard. Can't quite finish him off, though. But Shen's coming in from behind. He actually wants this kill.
He's going to be taking turrets, both turrets. Damage from both. He's going to be taking a huge chunk, and Kaltard taking a long way for the retreat. In the meantime, Goats, he's going to be fending off the Ninja for the time being, but Shen does manage to get back to neutral. He did ult out. Will be fine. Goats will be defending the mid turret against this two-man push, which is actually now leaving, looking to continue to roam. So Ocelot, he's ducking in and out between, through the mid lane, but wisely enough, WinFakt has decided to actually ward that side brush to recognize, okay, Ocelot leaving lane, everyone else be careful for the time being. Elmupo getting chunked out huge by Kevin. The Ignite was going down also. Drinking the potion will be forced to back, so good on Kevin. But Goats getting a little bit slowed. Ocelot can't connect on this. No, forcing the dragon out of there.
Yeah, and actually Etnik's almost going down. The Ignite just ticking away at him. Lulu has to flash as well. And Yellow Star, Ezreal has enough range. Not like attack range, but range as in how far he can pursue. And his pursuit range is actually really strong. It's one of the strongest for ADs. So in the long AD lane, you saw they were zoning them over at their tower, down like further in the lane, but he was able to use that long lane in order to chase down Jace and Lulu. And a really nice play from Yellow Star there, pressuring them some. He is not actually attacking the minion. He wants to make sure that it can kill as many of these minions as possible. So he's just going to continue to clear the wave. And we'll see how that factors in. But so far, Jace has been farming pretty well, but Yellow Star is just crushing him. He's
it's
40 CS ahead.
It's a huge lead, and as long as that turret and bot stays up, Manix and 6, they're going to be forced to return. So the longer SK keeps WinFakt occupied down bot lane, just the further out Yellow Star is just going to spiral out of control. He does have the Bloodthirster now. That's going to be a lot of damage when he returns in the lane. Hopefully we look into something like a Trinity Force next, but he wants that sustained damage. He wants that huge damage. And meanwhile, you look at Jace. He's got the Ninja Tabby. He's got the Phage. He is still a bruiser at heart, so he needs to tank up. Nif out in front, does temporarily get turned into a kitty, got the shield going, but Enix, he recognizes that's the time to go in, forcing the flash out, is ignited, the slam backwards, and the Ignite will take care of that one. Yellow Star has no choice but to hug the turret until Leona comes back.
Yeah, and Ocelot trying to chase down Kaltard, can't quite get in it, as Kevin and Irinei are both dueling off in that top lane. But Ocelot, he has enough damage as long as he avoids some of those Qs, and he does get the pullback onto Kaltard, picks him up with another Q. He picks up that kill. Ocelot will take some damage here, but actually absorbing some of it. No, he actually hit it before the shield.
More for Yellow Star, right? Because Yellow Star was very low at the bot lane and just got barely away from that. Just auto take a few minutes, get some of that lifesteal. Kept him alive.
But it is interesting to see how Jace has worked as an AD, because he clearly is significantly weaker than Ezreal, or at the very least, Yellow Star has been able to take advantage of it. But you see, he has the range for the harass and for farming, and then he has the bruiser capabilities for trying for the kills. And bruisers are significantly stronger in that regards. Ocelot gets the flash over the wall after that exhaust from Goats, and Goats not actually pursuing, even with that ward there. Recognize he didn't have enough range to taste down Orianna. Orianna's just way too fast, and has the kiting power with the Q and the W, so he will back out.
Also, not to mention that at that time, WinFakt, they did not have any vision on Ezreal. He could have been nearby, he could have been close, he could have actually tacked on that extra damage. So wise choice to not pursue that.
Yeah, so he will be safe, but it's starting to get to that point where Elmupo might be a little, too strong for them to deal with in that top lane. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see when Yorick goes back up there again, if that transitions away. WinFakt, they are pursuing this dragon, so they are going to be able to take this down very quickly. There's no pressure from SK, so we'll see where they pressure the rest of the map, because they're not actually pushing many turrets. They are trying to get some pressure in the mid, and Yellow Star should be able to drop that. But top lane is in control from WinFakt, as well as that dragon, and Elmupo actually gets the kill on Shen underneath the turret. So he's probably going to be able to pick up the turret as well.
A lot of pressure coming, but while that's all going on, you have Ocelot, Yellowstar, Kevin, and a 4-man push here in the mid. Nice Q on the Goats, followed up by the ult, and Shyvana will just melt immediately, and the tier 2 in mid is also gone. Look at that.
Yeah, they're
is a
still
huge
pushing.
push.
They
And
might
they're
be
still
able to
going.
take the base.
You got Countard, he's actually being fended away by the orb. Will SK actually just get a tier 3 while they're at? This could be like just one of the most notable pushes ever. El Mubbo with the Blaze Surge on the Yellowstar, forcing out the Shen ult onto the Ezreal. Will the taunt be there? Keeping El Mubbo behind. Could be chunking out that Aurelia. Very huge. But meanwhile, let's look at the tower. It's still going down. 3-tower push coming in from SK in the mid. That is unprecedented.
Yeah, and the 17-minute inhibitor as well. And it all started with WinFakt. They were out of position, and actually Karthus not able to engage. Goats trying to chase them down because they are all very low.
Wow.
But they have great kiting potential. Karthus as well, they can't chase them down. Etnik's trying to get a pick off maybe with his Q. But it started off, and WinFakt, they didn't fear SK's push. So SK, they started pushing, and WinFakt was trying to engage with both Karthus and Lulu from down this area, but that's actually a choke point. There's not an opportunity for them to get back to mid, and as a result, they were never safe to get into underneath the tower where Karthus could maybe wall and try and get some poke damage. And so SK had them zoned, and Countard realized too late. He thought that SK was going to back off, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh wow, they're not backing off. Shit, I need to be back in my base, and I am not. So he last second moves back in the base, but it's the long walk. He has a long walk around, so he actually flashes into the base.
Why?
Just because he didn't have enough time.
This confusion, like, why are you not bluffing anymore? It's like, okay, guys, cut it out. 6 getting caught by the Ocelot.
He picks up the kill.
Orianna with the orb. Quick, easy kill. WinFakt just out of position on that one. And now, with that huge push in mid, just the entire mid got completely ravaged. That is a 3K lead that SK has for themselves right now. And with that, they can just go on back to the lanes like nothing ever happened. Go continue to push top. Go continue to push bot. You do also have Countard way out of position, looking to free farm in bot. But if the inhibitor was grabbed, what's saying SK can't, recognizing people out of position, go for Baron at this point?
Yeah, it'd be tough. They don't really have the damage for it at this point, but they can continue to pressure the lanes. They have Shen split pushing the bottom lane, and actually Yellowstar walking in can't steal it from Goats. Goats gets it, but Yellowstar chasing him away. This is the play that SK's been making. It's a very common early game team comp, but usually you don't see such an aggressive push, and it's just it was a really nice play from SK because they have the Orianna for team fight control and her kiting potential, and she controls the mid lane. Yorick can control the top lane, while Ezreal controls the bottom lane. He's very strong early game. Then they have AoE to win team fights as well, and Yorick, if he's tanky enough, he can run into the team, slow them down. He can, just be kind of a bruiser in the front line. He has Shen for the backup, and he forces them to clump on Yorick. So you kind of bait out with the Yorick. I think I've described it before. It's like a fishing reel. El Mubbo walking in onto Ocelot, though, and very quickly they burst him down with the Shyvana. They instantly kill him, and there's the bruising power from WinFakt, and so that's exactly what they've needed for quite some time, but they can't chase down the rest of them, and as a result, they actually lose another turret, even though they're able to pick up Ocelot there.
Yep. It was perfect. It was great well-timed, great engage from WinFakt. You also have the wall pain keeping Kevin behind. Ignite's going down. Also in retreat, Yellowstar is Ghouled. They're just going to send the Ghoul out on his own just to scout ahead. It's a very expensive one at that. It's the cost of an ultimate. But looking for some free harass onto WinFakt as they're doubling back on in. But during that last fight, when Ocelot blew up, Shen ult was not up. Now it is. So SK, they're looking to fight back into this. It's like, guys, we didn't have the Shen ult earlier. We totally don't have it now. That is a complete and utter lie. And you usually see RNA down bot lane, chunking out that tier 2, and it is now gone.
Yeah, so he picks up another turret. He's continuing the pressure, and all of a sudden they're missing out on all the turrets but this one in the top lane. So, they can continue to pressure him. It is interesting. What I was saying was Yorick, he's like an anglerfish, and when you look at his design, that's what he is. He's an anglerfish. He baits in the enemy team, so he wants to bait in WinFakt and then have the follow-up from his team. However, Ocelot was just a little bit too far ahead, so they were able to engage on him. The fast engage with Jace and Shyvana did work out for them. So he is back. He is trying to get in there. Yellowstar chasing down Countard, but with the slow, he might not be able to get it. So they do, I think, retreat. Kevin trying to get the slow in there, but they might be able to take a turret in response.
Ocelot staying on the outskirts. There was was a ward to jungle from WinFakt that spotted him out. Slow going down onto Goats. Boslot's got the ball back in his court. Ultimate is up also for Orianna. So if there's a nice minion wave pushing, but look at that though, there is that long range harass from Jace that we've been talking about earlier that is going to be a constant threat. And everyone, SK is being spotted.
Oh, he can get the angle.
Recalling,
he has the angle.
oh,
he gets the shot.
Nice.
Very cool.
Oh man, I think now that's the point where SK considers maybe we should buy an Oracles.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Ednic's picking him off there, right in between the two other members. So they had Ocelot body blocked, but he pulled off to the side.
Nice.
So that,
Good stuff.
They are getting pretty strong, like for that Bruiser team. As long as they can avoid the AOE, if Karthus can get into the middle of the team, the concern is that SK has pretty good kiting potential with both Ocelot and Kevin. But I think that with the Karthus wall and with the movement speed from Jace, that double wall combo, I think that's actually strong enough that they might be able to force a fight onto SK and try to stop them. They've already stalled long enough for that inhibitor. So that 17-minute inhibitor, 17:30, it's back up already. And they are trying to pressure them. SK is going for this dragon, but Mega Shock's actually coming down to try and stop it. They do pick up the dragon, though, and get out of there safely. Yeah,
and so with that, dragon is back up 4K gold lead here for SK as the push continues. And as, I believe, the last super minion for SK there in the mid. And with that, Ping's actually going down in front of Baron. Are they going to do? I think they are. Yellowstar looking to rush it. They recognize that all of WinFakt. They are on their own in the mid. You see them transitioning over. There's plenty of great ward coverage, though, in the river. So WinFakt knows that they have started the Baron. Nice ward on the tri-ramp. Recognizes they're coming on down. SK disengages, but Shen is back in the bot lane looking to split push once again.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to, I don't know, bait in WinFakt to allow Shen to get in. They're just trying to stall WinFakt a little bit so that Shen has an opportunity to continue pushing, because they really have no chance in hell of pushing that Baron against WinFakt, because Jace is just going to queue right into the middle of them, right in that Baron pit, and you've already seen how much damage he does. He's just going to clear out their team. Karthus could ult in and, wall them off right in that Baron pit.
Can ult in.
Right, it's such a dangerous situation. There's no way that they can take the Baron against them. But what they were trying to do is stall them for Irenae to get back. Or, better yet, if by some chance WinFakt didn't have a ward and SK noticed, hey, guys, WinFakt, they're not coming. So, they could just sneak it in that regards too.
But I think that's not too far out of the question, because WinFakt, they have been pushed back. They had a huge push in mid. It wouldn't be too out of the question to expect them to be that far back in defending and not have wards that far up front. But fortunately enough for them, they did. And that's what happens. And, if you're ever pushed back, if you're in defense mode, if you can manage to get an aggressive ward in the enemy territory, in the enemy jungle, that can be huge, like we've seen there. And getting caught out a little bit by Lulu and Jace, looking to dash on out. That'd be a shame to be losing that Oracles. But Jace still looking for that pursuit, does not get that shot through the gate, but will force the Shen to back off.
Yeah, and you saw because Yorick has no Baron control at all. Yorick's tanky at doing Baron, but he doesn't provide much damage. SK couldn't even force a Baron there 4v3, and now they do have the slow on the Ocelot. He gets the flash out of there, the ultimate as well to try and keep himself alive, along with the Shen ultimate, but he's very close to going down to Kautar. They do pick up the kill, but that Karthus ultimate should be able to grab him. Ocelot, can he shield enough? Wow, just barely surviving.
And the ghoul died too.
Yeah.
That'd been unfortunate if that killed him.
Yeah. So he's able to just barely get out of there, so that does work for their favor.
Shield as he's walking away. Very wise decision there from Ocelot. And with that, though, with the Karthus down, SK, they feel confident enough to go right back in for the Baron, but there is a ward in the pit. Does get cleared out. There is an Oracles now onto the Shen, so we're going to be a little bit more safe.
That's hard to engage, but
it's still hard, though. It's still rough.
Yeah, Jace, I mean, you saw the Q come in, and all of a sudden, Yorick is dropped, and yeah, they have to just get out of there.
So it's still a very tricky game of a tug of war here. At the very least, surrounding the Baron. SK, they still consider a risk, but I think it's more of just a check. It's like, hey, WinFakt, are you guys paying attention? Yes. Okay, we'll back off.
Yeah. It's
just
you get a point on the test for signing your name on the top of the test,
which is bull, by the way. If you don't know, anyway,
you don't want the free point for signing your name.
Well, you shouldn't be rewarded for knowing your name.
Well, that's
Come
true.
on. You should be knowing that. You shouldn't be rewarded for something like that.
It's it's an attendance reward.
It should be only a deficit if you don't know it.
And
You
it
should
is a
never be a
deficit
reward.
if you don't know it.
Well,
if you
also
don't
true
know
enough,
your
yeah.
name, you don't get that point.
When countered, a little bit of harassment from Yellowstar. Flash in a very strange angle, trying to go through the jungle, and Goats is there to capitalize on the out of position. Ezreal Arne out and back, and Nif looking to retreat also, but I'm not sure if Shen can get away from this. Will the Oracles be lost? It will. A bit of a misstep for Yellowstar. I'm not sure if he expected the Flash to end up that short.
Yeah, he just couldn't quite get out of there, and losing 2 members.
How many wards did they place? Go back down. 3? Oh, okay.
No,
So,
2 wards.
it's just 2. I thought they placed like 3 or 4 of them in there just for safety. Orianna Orb still doing damage to 6. Lulu,
We've seen this situation before for
we
SK,
have.
though.
SK, they can go in for the steal. We've seen them do it before, but actually Shen is down. So there is no smite available. Ocelot does get the kill onto Shyvana while they're in the defensive position, but Orb over the forest wall, still poking down damage even though he's not in the fight. Nif getting very low, but is Ghoul...
Oh, they couldn't even kill Nif.
Can't even get that. Nif, the Ghoul has now died. If Leona dies, it will be for good now. Kevin
get
still
another
with
kill.
the
They're gonna get the
slows,
Oracles.
6. Can you get the Oracles? Can you get the Lulu? The speed buff from Lulu is still significant here. I don't think it's going to happen, though. No. But Ezreal's ult. Ezreal's up. Give me a
that's-
true shot barrage. Something,
Yeah, he could
anything.
Go for it. I mean, that's the same situation we saw at Gamescom a number of times versus CLG EU. How strong Orianna is at those Baron fights. When it is a 5v3, it was a 5v4 situation a couple times, or 5v3 in Gamescom, and Ocelot poking in as Orianna, you know, you kind of risk yourself because Orianna's range, it's decent, but it's actually not that significant. But he's able to walk in, get in the queues, get in, you know, the quick poke, and even though it's to their disadvantage, they came out ahead there. So, you know, he was able to get the really nice ultimate and stall them off. And I mean, it's really difficult to deal with when you're in those tight corridors that Orianna, and then they couldn't chase him down. They couldn't pick up those kills. I still can't believe they couldn't kill Nif. But
I still can't believe there wasn't a true shot barrage.
Oh, yeah.
That could have been a triple for Yellowstar.
But that's a nice, you know, SK, they almost, you know, had a little bit of a throw there. They lost 2 of their members. They were very close to losing Baron, and they just pulled it back. They were able to take control of there. It is a 4v4, though, almost a 4v5. SK picks up the Dragon, but they are in a really dangerous situation here. But WinFakt, they're scared to engage this.
Well, Yellowstar is a little bit out of position once again, but does shift over a wall. He will be fine, does have that available. York is not too far away from the team. Kevin needs to get with everybody because WinFakt, they are now looking to do their own push here in mid. May not be to the same extent as SK did earlier in mid, but there is the ult square onto Six's face. Keeps him still right dead center of that Leona ult. That was beautiful.
And that's one of the weaknesses of Lulu, is that she's actually pretty slow. Even with the W, you know, considered, she doesn't have any escapes or anything as a support, or as much mobility as other supports. And so, even though she's really strong in fights, if you catch her out of position, she doesn't really have a lot of options. And WinFakt didn't really do a good job of accommodating Six there. They, you know, Six was behind them, but they were all kind of running as a team.
Flashing on in. He's got the AoE. Can they steal the Baron? He's still up, waiting for it, and the Baron will actually still live off this one, but a lot of champs going on down. Ezreal and Karthus is going to be going down first, but Karthus is still ghosted. He cannot get the damage he needed, and SK will still sweep. WinFakt looking for a desperate Baron steal. SK still doing it, but El Mupo, it's not going to be a whole lot of damage. It's not going to be enough. SK secures the Baron. Ocelot being shielded by Shen. Shen doesn't even need to be there for the taunt. There's a quick kill. Leona grabbed the credit for that one. And Lulu left to her lonesome to defend this massive SK push.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get probably 2 inhibitors out of that. They might even just go for the Nexus.
They might go for game here.
It is very close to them going for the Nexus. They don't have Ezreal, though, and I think the lack of their AD carry will prevent them from going for it. They do actually ping the bottom turret. With the shields, they can tank the turrets fairly easily, but I don't think they have enough to tank both of them. They just leave it because they know those minions are going to take it down, and now they are going for another turret. But 4 members are up for WinFakt. Their only one remaining is El Mupo, and they have to back out of there because they don't quite have enough damage. They did get some nice damage on poke onto the turret, though. It is pretty low, so for their next push, they did set themselves up to take it down.
Yep. And you know what? Who better than to get the wave pushing? Ezreal, Yellowstar going to be in bot lane. He's like, hey, you don't have the Baron buff. I'm so sorry for you. But yeah, hey, they're still waiting for you to contribute. That Nyx could be walking into a disaster, though. does fire off the warning shot first. Good on him.
Right across the nose.
Prevented a very disastrous face check with that bullet.
Yeah, so it does give you vision, and he's not going to just walk into the blue bush, because they had vision that the blue was up, so that's only the natural place for SK to go in that situation. Coming back from the inhibitor, that's where you would have to expect them to be. So he is safe. They are starting to get pretty strong with Kaltar, but you saw in the previous fight, he just didn't quite have enough damage, even when he was grouped on all of them.
I think he also flashed in a little bit too early there.
Right. Yeah, it was a little early for the steal, but even as far as a fight's concerned, he didn't quite have enough damage to take them down with the shields that they have, with the regen and how tanky Yorick and Shen are. It just makes things very difficult for Karthus at this point, but he's starting to get pretty deep into his build. Once he finishes that Rabadons in particular, that'll be very strong for them.
6 getting that ward coverage down. Glitterlands whenever need be to escape scary, scary enemies. But Nif and Ocelot, they're a pretty good duo on their own. You come with that stun, that's a lot of damage for Orianna to deal. But WinFakt, for the most part, note they do have a mid inhibitor down. They need to play the defense game and wait off the Baron buff. We saw the earlier push from SK down bot lane. That tier 3 in bot is pretty weak. And you got 3 members looking for a push. Shen is top lane. His ult is not back up yet. So SK just needs to be exercise caution when going for this push.
Yeah, they are pressuring in the bottom lane, but they are split pushing. So the split push, will be pretty successful for them. It's going to be difficult for WinFakt to engage on the Orianna, but they've already worn down Jace with that with those Qs. So if Kaltar can pick someone off with that wall, they could maybe engage it. They're just a little bit scared right now. They recognize that Shen could come back in. They just want to allow Jace to continue poking in, and Etnik's going for the engage, but really quickly he is dropped with a single Q from Orianna and Ezreal.
Goats finding out Kevin there in that side lane, putting the wards down also. So if, at the very least, if WinFakt, if you're going to be forced in defense mode, they at least want to know where SK is. Orb, nice tag on the Kaltar, half health already. But El Mupo, he's going deep, is get stunned by Nif, keeping him there, occupied in back lane, but here comes Ghost Dragon form, looking to focus down. Yellow Star is ignited, Ghoul popping also, and in mid-air to Jace will fall. Kaltar falls also, all of SK will be able to get out of that AoE pretty easy. Not sure if they're going to get anyone on this ult. No, they will not. WinFakt
Nif
on the
almost
ropes.
going down, but the shield from Ocelot just keeping him up. They will be able to pressure in. That has to be a surrender. There it is. So WinFakt, they recognize it's over. SK with the really nice pressure early in the game.
Wow.
They had a really strong comp that was able to pressure all the lanes. They were very tanky, able to get that poke from Orianna, and we've seen that kind of a comp from SK before, and it's worked out to great effect. Yellow Star farming like a boss. I mean, just absolutely, both games he was a monster for SK, and, a big part of that comeback in the previous game and the win in this game. So really impressive play all around. 9-3-6 on Ocelot.
Huge.
His Orianna is still, the play and the pokes and whatnot is still astounding to me. And, supposedly XPK did teach him that. So, they taught him everything he knows.
We've heard.
So we'll see.
We need to verify that statement's authenticity. But for the time being, I guess we can say so.
Yep.
So we had the discussion also before the match and now during and now after. Jace AD.
Jace AD was fun to watch. It had a lot of strengths to it. Mm-hmm. We saw the poke with the Q. It just got Jace on the board. It's kind of like they decided that Jace is so strong that it doesn't matter, how they're going to play him. They want Jace on the field because he's just a really great champion overall. He did lose bottom lane pretty significantly, but he was able to try and keep pace with Yellow Star. Even though he wasn't going to have the same damage that Yellow Star was going to, he was pretty close there. And you saw their focus was to poke with Jace, and then in team fights just rush them down with Karthus and with all these bruisers and just bully them around. They couldn't quite do it because they were behind. And being behind, it makes that kind of a bruiser team very difficult to use. Because bruisers, they don't scale so much from items, they scale from levels. And that's actually kind of one of the difficulties with Jace in the bottom lane is you don't get as many levels as you do in the top lane.
And you see ending the game was actually 2 levels behind Yellow Star. Right. So it was always a constant issue.
Yeah, so you didn't have the same range damage that you would have. You don't get quite the same levels you would get from a top lane Jace, so he's not quite as strong as he would otherwise be. But otherwise, it was an interesting thought. There were some strengths to it that we saw. They were never in a situation to really press it because SK did such a nice job early on.
Yep. And with that, SK will be moving on in the bracket. Going to be seeing more EU qualifiers tomorrow morning. So, dude, please join us again Friday. This Friday, I believe, we're going to be running grand finals for both NA and EU. So we should know the third set of teams that will be going by the end of the week. So that's
that'll be very cool.
That's going to be a good deal. And I'll remember, IGN.com/IPL5. If you want to be coming to the big show, if you want to be coming to the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas, the official home of the IPL, we want to see you there. Tickets are only going to be getting more expensive from here. Get your tickets, buy them now, and your rooms. We will be back in 2.5 hours for some NA matches, so do be sure to come on back and visit us once again. Hat Person and Baron here. We will see you guys next time.